Hi guys, back again with another video, and today we are looking at the next section of the OCR A-level specification, and in particular this criterion, which is explain what is meant by income elasticity of demand. So this follows on in the series. Last video we were looking at price elasticity of demand. So keywords obviously in the criterion are obviously explain. So remember what we're talking about. Explain really is a light touch understanding, although this is a little bit more in depth than that. And income elasticity of demand, let's get straight to it and explain what we mean by that term and consider the equation. So first of all, the equation YED, remember YED being the abbreviation for income elasticity of demand, is the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in income. So what is that measuring? It's measuring the sensitivity of demand, top line, to a change in income, bottom line. Remember, all of these elasticity measures, be it price, be it income, or be it cross-price elasticity of demand, then they always have demand on the top line and price income, or price of other good, on the bottom line. So just remember that if you are if you're asked to define it or give it as an answer to a question. So most goods with regard to income elasticity of demand, you will find that the outcome of a calculation such as this is usually positive. And the reason for that, of course, is that as incomes rise, people tend to buy more of a particular good and or service. Now I'm sure you can think of examples of where that might not be the case, and we'll come on to that later. And indeed, in some extreme cases, you might actually find that as income rises, you deliberately, because you can afford to, you buy less of one good and more of another. If that's the case, and you buy less of a good, in other words, YED, the outcome of this equation is negative, then we refer to that, ladies and gentlemen, as an inferior good. So income goes up and you buy less of it. So let's just consider a couple of examples, taking this equation and just working it through to get the outcome and say a little bit about the outcomes. So in this example, we have a 5% increase in income yielding a 20% increase in quantity demanded. So we have a relatively small increase in income and a much larger increase in quantity demanded, more than proportional increase in QD. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, tends to be the case for goods which we would describe probably as luxury items. So your income goes up that little bit more, you've got that little bit extra disposable income, and you can afford, therefore, to treat yourself that bit more often, and so the demand for luxuries goes up more significantly. In this example, we've got a 10% increase in income, but look what's happening on the top line. Here we have a 5% reduction in quantity demanded. So as a consequence, this half, 1 over 2, is actually a minus number. And remember what we said, if it's negative, then it's an inferior good. So we have a 10% rise in income, and as a consequence, for a given good, you consume 5% less, and therefore that is an inferior good. So we can model these instances of income elasticity of demand on a diagram such as this. So slightly changed axes on your labels, labels compared to what you're used to. Quantity here, income here, 3 curves. The first one, D1, sloping upwards from left to right. So income's rising, quantity demanded is rising, so that's your normal good. Second one, D2, downwards from left to right. So that means income's rising but quantity's falling. So that is our negative or our inferior good. And then an interesting one here, ladies and gentlemen, this bow-shaped. This one is D3, and this is signifying that for some goods, what you'll find is that they have a normal relationship at lower income levels. So down here, as income rises, the quantity demanded is also increasing, but then at higher levels, they become more inferior. So if you think, for example, of bread, Well, if you are in relative poverty, for example, and you get an increase in income, it's probably the case that you'll want to buy more of that essential necessity good. And so you would be in this area here. However, as your income grows, you might find that actually, even though you get an increase in income, the demand for bread might not increase at all. In fact, it might fall. And it might fall because you're switching to alternative substitutes, which are perhaps more suited to that more sensitive, tasteful palate. So rather than having toast for breakfast, you might be having some luxury caviar or something. And as a consequence, it has this sort of inferior quality to it. So normal here and then inferior on this side. It's an interesting chart, that. Okay, and finally, just to sort of close this one off, keep this one relatively short and sweet, here we've worked out, I always like to use 10% on the bottom line just to keep the numbers simple. 10% increase in income, 30%, and we're talking increase here, should put that in, 30% increase in quantity demanded. Outcome is 3. Now, if it's greater than 1, i.e. if YED is greater than 1, which 3 obviously is, then we tend to categorise that as a luxury good, or sometimes known as a superior good. So in other words, you're increasing income and you get a much more responsive increase in quantity demanded. If on the other case, it's less than 1, as in this instance, so 10% increase in income, 5% increase in quantity demanded, so in other words, less than 1, that we would tend to refer to as being the sort of the category and the classification for a necessity good. Now that's not always actually the case, but you know, within the bounds of what we're sort of explaining here, to scratch the surface, we can leave it at that for the time being. Okay, ladies and gents, thank you for watching. If this is your first time watching one of my videos right to the end, wow, thank you. If you're not a subscriber already, please do hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get all the daily notifications. Follow me on Instagram, G_Economics, Twitter, G_Economics, and find out the latest goings on in the world of GECO at www.geconomics.co.uk/events. Bye for now.